Good morning, everyone. This is the end of the September session. So some of you sat last 2 days or 2 or 3 days. I really appreciate your practice of Zazen. I continue to talk on this text, opening the hand of thought. Today, I start to talk on section 3 of chapter 8, page 151, if you have the text. 151. This chapter, chapter 8, the last chapter, is based on Uchiyama Roshi's last lecture at Atage. That was 1975, so almost 50 years ago. And the day after he left, he gave this talk, he left Atage. I was 26, so, and what he's talking in this section 3, is, I think, most important part of this lecture, and it's longest. And he's talking about Zazen and our daily lives, our attitude toward Zazen and also daily lives. So let me read the title of this section, page 151. He said, Zazen must work concretely in our daily lives as the two practices, vow and repentance. The three minds, magnanimous mind, nurturing mind, and joyful mind. And as a realization of the saying, gaining is delusion, losing is enlightenment. I think this, what he's saying here is a kind of his summarization of Dogen's teaching and practice. And to me, this is an essential point of my teacher's teaching. And after I heard this, when I was 26, I tried to follow his teaching and practice. So this is important to me too. And what he's talking about is in Japanese, he says, ichiza and nigyo and sanshin. Ichiza, ichi, ni, san means 1, 2, 3. So this is a kind of, he made his own Dharma numbers. When you study Buddhist teaching, you have to memorize, many Dharma numbers, such as 4 Noble Truths or 8-fold Noble Path, and so on, or 6 parameters, those numbers. And he made this number: 1 sitting, 2 practices, 3 minds. And sanshin is 3 minds in English, but I don't like mind as plural, because this is 3, but this is 1 mind. 3 aspects of 1 mind. So I don't like 3 minds. These are not 3 separate minds, but 1 mind function in 3 ways. So he said these are the most important point of Dogen's teaching and his practice also. So I try to follow this teaching after I established Sanshinji. So this is what we have been doing. First, he talks about Zazen, and these two practices is vow and repentance. After our talk, after our lectures, we usually recite or chant 4 vows, 4 bodhisattva vows. Basically, that is what he meant when he said vow, practice of vow. And practice of repentance. He said vow and repentance should be always together. When we have vow, we need to have, or we need to practice repentance, because our vow or bodhisattva vow is really endless vow. So there's no goal, those vows has no goals. Beings are numberless, we vow to save them or help them or free them. Because beings are numberless, there's no time we can complete this mission. So there's no time we can reach the goal. So these vows are direction, but not the goal we can reach. So when we practice step by step toward the direction of those 4 vows, we always find something incomplete within our practice. And that awareness or awakening to our incompleteness is repentance. And often, or too often, we try to, even though we try to follow that direction, somehow we go somewhere else. And then we find we are taking different direction, we return to the track. This is the functional repentance. So as far as we practice following our bodhisattva vows, we have to practice repentance. So these two are always together. And Sanshin 3 minds are magnanimous mind or daishin, and Roshin or nurturing mind or parental mind. That is a mind to take care of others. And joyful mind or kishin. Those are the mind or attitude we should keep in our daily lives when we work with other people. We need to have those 3 minds. Magnanimous or big mind means mind of no discrimination. And nurturing mind is mind to take care of others. And joyful mind is by within taking care of others, we find the joy. When we are childish, we always request other people to help me, to make me happy. And if they don't, we scream or complain. But when we are mature, we can find a joy in taking care of others. That is the bodhisattva attitude toward our life. So in this section, he's talking about those 3 points. Let me read paragraph by paragraph. He says, some people believe that all activities that use the same posture as Zazen are like, but there are many different kinds of sitting practice. Southeast Asian Buddhists practice sitting meditation. Non-Buddhist practices like yoga have sitting practices. Altogether, there are quite a number of such practices. The posture may be the same, but the spirit and the purpose are different. Uchiyama Roshi didn't say spirit and purpose. He said the contents of our Zazen practice. Anyway, so he's saying there are many many traditions, or in almost all Buddhist traditions, they have meditation practice, because meditation is one of the three basic studies. Precept, meditation, and wisdom, or prajna, are three basic studies. So all Buddhists need to study and practice those 3 points. And in many traditions, when they practice meditation, they sit in the same posture, like sitting cross-legged, or there are many other ways of practice meditation, but this is a kind of a common way to sit. But he said, depending upon, he said, the attitude, our attitude toward our practice of sitting, the content is different. And the next paragraph, what I am attempting to do through all my writings is to clarify just what true Zazen is. Page 151. True Zazen is, and of course, it is even more important to train people who can teach true Zazen directly. These two things, writing and teaching my students, have been my most important work for many years. Fortunately, the number of disciples who can teach is growing, for which I am grateful. When he gave this talk, I was 26. I'm not really ready to teach. I'm still kind of growing. And later, in that same year, in December of 1975, I went to Massachusetts and practiced with two of my Dharma brothers at Valley Zendo. I practiced there for 5 years. So, but our practice at Valley Zendo is based on his teaching. So we continued his style of practice. So after that, what I have been doing is kind of a success takeover his vow, his vows to writing a text of Zazen. There are many great texts in Buddhist histories about meditation practice and Buddhist philosophy. But those are written in India or other part of Asia or Chinese, and they are great, but Uchiyama Roshi found it's difficult to understand, because he was a philosopher. He didn't study Buddhism when he was young. He finished a master course in Western philosophy. So he understood how Western people think. And so his way of studying Buddhism is not kind of traditional way. Traditional way means whether we understand or not, we memorize everything. And gradually we try to understand. But Uchiyama Roshi has, I think because he studied Western philosophy, he was critical. So he wanted to understand what this means. And he didn't find, not so many traditional Buddhist texts written in India or China or even Japan are difficult to understand with kind of a logical way of thinking. So he wanted to write in the way younger people, younger than him, especially after World War II. I was born 3 years after World War II. My education at public school is very much Americanized because Japan was occupied by American. So there's a kind of a separation between Japanese traditional way of education and thinking and the way we think, kind of a Western way, logical way. So his Uchiyama Roshi's writing is very understandable even to us. That is a difference. So he wanted to write text in the way young Japanese could understand. And if young Japanese people could understand, if it translated into Western language, Western people also could understand. So when he write this text in Japanese, he expected to be translated. And I think several books were translated. This is one of them. Anyway, so my vow following Uchiyama Roshi's vow is to make translation of Uchiyama Roshi's and Dogen Zenji's writings, and also practice together with Western people, because I have been mainly in United States with American people in the way, his teaching and Dogen's tradition can be continued to studied and practiced. So what I have been doing after Uchiyama Roshi retired from Atage was continuing his vow or his work, and that is what I have been doing. And I'm not sure if I did enough or good enough. My work is good enough or not. But at least there is a temple, and the people are still sitting in his style. So at least I did something. And I'm not such a great person, so I think that is enough to me. So I really appreciate your continuous practice. It's good for me. Anyway, after this paragraph, he talks about mistaken way or mistaken attitude about Zazen. It's quite long, about 1.5 pages, or more than one and a half. He said, there are mistaken attitude towards Zazen, and he called that mistakes as Rokudo Zen. Rokudo Zen. Roku is 6 and Do is way, but in this case, this Roku-Do is 6 realms of samsara. So this is the Zen within 6 realms of samsara. He said that is not good. That is what we need to avoid. And he talks each one of them. Next paragraph, he says, as I have said, the content of our Zazen is determined by our attitude toward it, toward Zazen. Our Zazen is not the practice of so-called Zen of the 6 realms, Rokudo Zen. 6 realms Zen is made up of hell realm, the lowest realm in the 6 realms is hell. In Japanese, Jigoku Zen. And in this translation, insatiable spirit Zen, or more common translation is hungry ghost, Gaki Zen, and animal Zen, or Chikusho Zen, and fighting spirit Zen, or Ashura Zen, Zen of Ashura, and humanistic Zen, or Ningen Zen, and heavenly beings Zen, or Tenjo Zen. These are the 6 realms we are transmigrating. The point of this transmigration is we are always chasing after something. Like we almost always think I'm not good enough, or I cannot be happy because I don't have this or that. So we set a goal, and if I do something as a method and gain that is lacking or that I cannot do, then we can be happier. That is a basic kind of what is the word? Behavior, based on base of our behavior. We are always looking for something. That means here and now we cannot satisfy. So because of dissatisfaction about this person, about ourselves, we look for something and try to gain that thing or achieve that thing after some work. And if we think our Zazen is that kind of work to reach some better, reach the better place. If we practice in this way, that means dissatisfaction, or we feel lacking, or I'm not good. Therefore, we try to practice and try to achieve something, then we can be greater or happier. And the problem is, if we live in this way, and if we cannot reach the goal, we cannot be happy. We are not happy now. We have dissatisfaction, and try to practice or work hard to get that thing. For example, if we don't have money and we need money, we try to work hard to make money. But sometimes we can be happy, we can be successful, but more often we cannot get as much money as we want, So we cannot be satisfied. That is the basically what the cause of transmigration in the six realms means. That means sometimes we can be successful, but sooner or later we may lose it, or more often we cannot be successful. Therefore, we transmigrate, like heavenly beings. If when we are successful and we feel my desire is all fulfilled, we feel like we are heavenly beings. But human beings are almost always feel something is lacking. And Ashura is trying to fight against others. The problem which I am not happy is because someone did something wrong. So in order to make me happy, I have to fight against them and eliminate them. Then I can be happy. If we have such an attitude, we are like a fighting spirit. That is called Ashura, always fighting. And three more: hell, hungry ghost, and animals. He is going to talk about those six kinds of Zen. So let me read. What he talks are not difficult to understand. So just let me just read his description of these six kinds of Zen. Next page, 152. What is hell realm Zen? What is hell realm Zen? Well, there are some people who are afraid of even the sound of the word Zazen. And a surprising number of these people are Zen priests. Some monks stay at official recognized training monasteries called Senmon Sodo in Japanese for a certain period to receive a certificate that enables them to run a temple of their own, although they hate Zazen. They are forced to sit while they are training. This is as miserable for them as being in hell. After they get their certificate, they never do Zazen again, if they can help it. Doing Zazen with a kind of attitude is really meaningless. He said this is Jigoku Zen, or hell, Zen of the hell. He's talking about Buddhist priest. So, more than 95%, probably 99% of Japanese Soto Zen priests have family. That means the priest's son need to take care of, to take over father's temple, whether they are interested in Buddhism or Zen or not, as a kind of family responsibility. The usually oldest son needs to take care of his father's temple. To do so, he has to be trained in a monastery for certain period of time. So basically, they are not interested in Buddhism, and yet they have to stay at the monastery for certain period of time to be qualified as a temple priest. So they are not really interested in Zazen practice. And yet, as a part of monastic training, they have to sit. So there are many of such people. Of course, after certain period of monastic practice, they become interesting, and some of them become a good priest. But many of them didn't become interested in Zen or Buddhism, but they do priest work as their job. That is a problem. There are, Japan is smaller than California, but in Japan, traditionally it said there are 15,000 Soto Zen temples. So there must be more than 15,000 Soto Zen priests, and they are not really want to practice Zazen, unfortunately. So for those people, practice Zazen, at the monastery in the Sodo is really boring and painful and sleepy, really good for nothing. I'm sorry for those people. Anyway, that is what he meant, Jigoku Zen. There's nothing good for them, just a torture. And second kind is hungry ghost Zen. Insatiable spirit or hungry ghost are those whose hungers can never be satisfied, no matter how much they consume. This is the Zazen of people who chase after enlightenment with the desperation of starving ghost. So some people practice Zazen to gain some so-called satori or enlightenment, some kind of fantastic experience. Usually they thought that is a kind of mental experience as enlightenment or satori. And they try to find real satori, but no matter how much they practice, somehow they cannot get it. So they want to practice more, and yet they cannot find satisfaction. This kind of Zazen is based on, as I said, dissatisfaction within ourselves. So we find something empty within ourselves and try to fill that empty space by getting something from outside. But it is difficult. And our Zazen is not that kind of attempt. And the third is animal, or chikusho in Japanese. The third type of Zen is animal Zen, in the sense of dumb brutes, or domesticated animals like dogs and cats. Let's face it, there are some people who stay in monasteries because as long as they follow along, they are fed. Occasionally, this type stayed into Atage. They stay here because they can get fed. They sit sessions just to kill time. Domestic animal Zen is a waste of time. And this kind of person should be tossed out. It is particularly pointless to try to be a house pet at Atage. Excuse me. Where we do not serve fancy, how do you pronounce?
Tidbits.
Tidbit.
Fancy tidbits.
Okay. I hope you understand. There's no such fancy food is served at Atage. There is a Japanese expression, Yoraba Taiju no Kage, which means to look for shelter under the shade of a big tree. It's a terrible mistake to take shelter at Atage. It's like trying to relax in the shade under a patch of grass. You know, Atage was not an official monastery. So, no one come to get a license to become a temple priest. So, practice Atage is in that sense good for nothing. They cannot gain anything, no matter how long they practice at Atage. They cannot gain anything. So I practice at Atage less than 5 years. Still after Uchiyama Roshi retired, I have to go to official monastery to get a qualification to come to this country. In order to get a visa, I need to be a teacher qualification. So that is the only reason I went to the Yoji monastery. I'm sorry about that. But it was meaningful to me. I experienced different kind of very sincere practice. The Yoji was very traditional monastery. They tried to follow as close as Dogen Zenji's tradition in a formal ways. That was a kind of influenced by Hashimoto Eko Roshi. Hashimoto Eko Roshi and Saoki Kodo Roshi are good friends. They practiced together at Shuzenji, but they are different. Hashimoto Roshi want to be very careful to each and every details of formalities. But Saoki Roshi doesn't care. It is said even when he was alone, Hashimoto Roshi eat 3 times a day, 3 times or 2 times, using oryoki, informal ways. But Saoki Roshi said, if I'm alone, I don't do that. I don't wear koromo, but I just eat. So Saoki Roshi was a kind of not so traditional person. And because he didn't have his own monastery and traveling all over Japan, in many places he taught were, lay people's house. Of course, he visited temples also. So he couldn't follow such a traditional formalities, and he didn't care. He could do traditional practice, but he was not so much caught up about that kind of formality. So that was the difference between Atage and the Yoji. And I practice Atage only Zazen without doing any even the morning service. morning service, noon service, and evening service. At official monastery, they do at least three times, service a day. But at Atage, we didn't do even morning service. We start 3 periods a day from 5 to 8, and we did robe chant. So after 3 periods of Zazen, we chant, robe chant, and put on orchestra. And right after that, we left the Zendo and returned to our room and take off. So only a few minutes we put on orchestra. So Atage was very informal community. We sat a lot, but almost no formalities. So there is a bad reputation about Atage monks. We couldn't chant even the Heart Sutra without reading the Heart Sutra book. Anyway, so to me, after 5 years of Atage practice, went to such a traditional monastery. It was very different, and part of me it painful, but part of me I could appreciate. I could experience how Dogen Zenji's tradition has been continued. And some of them are very sincere. So some monks at Tsuyoji practice together, is still a good friend of mine, even though our style is different. Anyway, but so, Atage was very untraditional place, and whoever can come if they want to practice. So anyone can come and stay as long as they want to sit, practice Zazen. And as Uchiyama Roshi is saying here, there are some people, not all of them, who want to stay at Atage because they can be fed, they could eat. Often those people had some difficulty in their lives, in the secular world, so kind of a shelter. And if they follow Atage schedule, they can eat without, being hungry. But Uchiyama Roshi was kind of careful about if there are such a person who really don't want to practice Zazen, but just be there. And sometimes he how can I say, kick those people out. Next kind is Ashura Zen, fighting spirit Zen. He says, fourth, we have the Zen of, here it said, combative demons, fighting spirit, or Ashura. Ashura is a Indian god of justice. And this Ashura fighting against much powerful gods and defeated and became demons. So they think, I have justice. I have to fight against anyone who are wrong or bad. So very competitive people. Fourth, we have the Zen of combative demons. This is the Zen in which people compete over who is most enlightened, or whose practice is most severe. At Japanese monasteries, most of training monks are young, in their 20s. So some of them are very competitive, and they try to compete each other who practice most hardest, and who knows Buddhist teachings most. Everything can be competition. And they beat each other. They beat each other with a kyosaku, meditation stick, to show how tough they are. So, sometimes we can find such phenomena in traditional monasteries. Even between one monastery and another monasteries, they compete each other, and they try to have a confidence that our monastery is do the hardest, most difficult practice than others. That kind of satisfaction they are seeking. So even in Zazen, we can be competitive. When I was young, I had a little bit that kind of spirit. That means during session, I want to go to Zendo earlier than others. It's not so serious, but I think it was the Ashura. Or we want to compete with others, how much knowledge about Buddhist teaching we have. I think you can understand what what Uchiyama Roshi means. And the next one is Ningen Zen. Then comes Humanistic Zen, Zen in the human realm. This is Zazen practiced for utilitarian reasons. Some people sit to get their head straight, to improve their health, and so on. There are an awful lot of books published like Zen for Health, or Zen as Psychotherapy. This is Zen out to improve humanity on the basis of human values. People who always expect to get something in return, a quid pro quo. Do you understand this? A quid pro quo for their effort. They always want to get the reward. Practicing this kind of Zen, I think there are many kind of this humanitarian Zen, not only in Japan but also in this country too. We want to get something mentally or psychologically or materialistically. Something, we gain something. We want to gain something. If we cannot gain anything, we cannot find any reason or what is the word? Motivation to do this. So what we can get is the first thing they want to know. I think that is, human habit, or human beings are that kind of living beings, so we cannot avoid. But we need to find Buddha. Zazen as Buddha Dharma is not that kind of thing. That is why, or what Shohaku Roshi meant, Zazen is good for nothing. We want to always find something good or something better. But when we are taught Zazen is good for nothing, when we try to find something better, then I can feel it's not right. But so these 6 kind of Zen, which I'm not talking, is not, how can I say, particularly bad attitude. But I think almost all of us has one of them. Not if it's not always, or it's not so strong, but occasionally we have that kind of any one of these 6 kind of attitude we have. So even from the time I started to practice Zazen, before I started to practice Zazen, I read Uchiyama Roshi's book and Shohaku Roshi's book, so I knew Zazen is good for nothing, and I liked it. That's why I started to practice. But still, sometimes I feel, why I have to do this? And I think it's very natural. And occasionally we have that kind of condition, mental condition. So we don't need to, how can I say, we don't need to reject those 6 attitudes, even if we reject it somehow within us, those samsara practice is happening. But in that case, when we understand that Zazen is good for nothing, that Zazen is not for getting something better, then I think at least I could calm down and try not to run after that thing. But even if I'm not satisfied, I'm okay. That is, I think, difference. Anyway, the last kind is heavenly beings, Zen. The 6th type is heavenly Zen. The people who practice this want to be hermits or saints. Lots of Americans, he says, Americans, he said this 50 years ago, so he didn't know much about American Zen. So don't take this seriously. But 50 years ago, it was true. There are many people, so-called hippies, and they had a commune in a countryside, in the mountains, and tried to escape from the noisy, busy city life in the materialistic, civilization. And some of them came to Atage. So that is what Uchiyama Roshi meant here. They want to escape from the modern society or modern civilization and try to find a quiet place or quiet life. I don't think it's a bad thing, but it's not Buddha way, according to Uchiyama Roshi. Our practice is not escape from the mundane world. He said, lots of Americans seem drawn to this type of Zen. I guess they want to escape from the noisy, materialistic society of America and live in remote mountains, enjoying the silence. This is Zen undertaken as a hobby or a fad. It has absolutely nothing to do with the Buddha Dharma. So he said, those 6 kinds of Zen is not a genuine Zazen practice based on Buddha Dharma, at least Dogen's teaching. And next paragraph, he said, then fat is the right attitude we should take. So let me read one more paragraph. To recognize true Zazen, we have to look at our practice from an absolute perspective. If you are caught up in one of the limited kind of Zen of the 6 realms, you can no longer see the essential point of Buddha Dharma. And what is that? So he's asking, what is Buddha Dharma? The first section of this talk, he said, we should practice Buddha Dharma only for the sake of Buddha Dharma. So he talked, what is Buddha Dharma? And he introduced one kind of a koan of Sekito Kisen and one of his disciples. What is the essential teaching of Buddha Dharma? And Sekito said, what he said, no gaining, no knowing, futoku fuchi. Then the monk asked, could you say a little more? Then Sekito said, the boundless great sky doesn't obstruct white clouds floating. So this is true Zazen. That means within our Zazen, all that kind of 6 realms attitude are coming and going. But we are not caught up with that kind of desire. Basically, those are 3 poisonous mind: greed, hate or anger, and ignorance. Greed means I want to get that thing. That is a greed. And when we feel I'm not good enough, so I don't like me, so I have to become better. If we practice on that basis, our practice is based on anger or hatred against myself. And ignorance is, and I don't think I need to explain, we don't understand why we are living, what is the purpose of life. So we try to do this thing or that thing, and we cannot find satisfaction anyway. So he's asking, what is that? What is Buddha Dharma? As I said before, Buddhism teaches impermanence and the quality of non-ego, that is no self. So impermanence and no self. That is basis of Buddha Dharma. Letting go and opening the hand of. opening the hand of thought is the foundation of Zen based on the Buddha Dharma. So letting go of our any kind of thinking, and those thinking are most of cases based on three poisonous mind. I want to get that thing, or I don't like that, or some kind of fantasy as ignorance. So what we do in our Zazen, that is letting go of thought or opening the hand of thought, that is becoming free from our self-centeredness and just be, not see. We don't see impermanence as an object, but we become a part of impermanence. Things are coming and going even in our mind. We just let them come and let them go, like the great sky doesn't obstacle the white clouds freely moving around. So this is, according to Uchiyama Roshi, this is Zazen as a Buddha Dharma, or based on Buddha Dharma, not based on my personal desire, based on three poisonous mind. Excuse me. Well, that is what I have to say this morning. Is there any question or comments?
So let's start with the folks in the room.
Please.
Thank you, Togo-san. My spoken English is not so good. My spoken English is not so good. May I ask in Spanish and Mark help me translating? Okay?
Okay, please.
Thank you. Very interesting. Very interesting. Muy interesante. Mi pregunta es, ¿podemos ver este Zen en los 6 reinos, no solo como actitudes, sino también como momentos o experiencias por las que el practicante pasa en un mismo Zazen o en un Sesshin, por ejemplo? En un Sesshin atravesamos Zazen, 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 pero estamos atravesando quizás los diferentes reinos en diferentes momentos porque pasamos por momentos diferentes. Se podría ver también así, no solo como esta persona tiene esta actitud, esta otra persona tiene esta actitud, sino algo que puede ser parte de nuestra experiencia, ya que estamos en samsara, algo que experimentamos mientras estamos en Zazen.
La pregunta es que en Zen nuestra experiencia es momento de momento de momento. Hay una diferencia entre la colección de estos momentos y las actitudes que tenemos.
My question is about the Zen in 6 realms. Okay, it's not only about attitudes of people, okay, but also moments of or oneself or one people in Zazen that is in different moments in the Zazen or in Sesshin. In different moments, we may stay in the heathens, in the humans, in the animals, in the aliens. It's my question.
Did you get that?
You might summarize.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know if you got that, but so in like the 6 realms, that it's not necessarily, is it a matter of one person has this attitude, one person has this attitude, one person has this attitude, but the experience that we have moment by moment by moment, that we can fall into these different realms at different places and beings. So that's
even during session we are transmigrating. And by letting go or opening the thought, we return here and now, just really just sitting, not to taken by our thinking to go somewhere else. But our Zazen is always return to where we are. So, as a white clouds, we are moving around within 6 realms. but by letting go, we return to the great sky.
¿Entiendes?
Sí.
Okay.
Thank you.
Takes a village. Other questions?
Please.
Thank you very much for a very fruitful Dharma talk today, especially about this 6 ways, Rokudo Zen. And then ultimately, Uchiyama Roshi leads us to opening hand of the thought. So this opening hand of thought is rephrase of the casting body and mind of the Dogen's Satori experience.
You mean Shinjin Datsuraku?
Yeah, Shinjin, Datsurak Shinjin.
Dropping off body and mind. I think so. You know, what I'm talking. Shakyamuni Buddha said in one Pali sutta, before he became Buddha, that means before he had awakening, he knew 5 skandhas. 5 skandhas are demo or mara. But when we see 5 skandhas are empty and impermanent and suffering and no self, that is what Uchiyama Roshi said, then we become released. And he said, when I really directly know that thing, I become free. That was he didn't say what his experience was on the moment of awakening, but he said that is a difference. He became free from clinging to 5 skandhas. And the 5 skandhas are body and mind. You know, the form is body in our life. And other 4 skandhas are our mind, how our mind works. And usually we think this is me. So because my 5 skandhas think in this way, I have to do this. But we need to understand 5 skandhas are empty and impermanent, are not reliable and also suffering. Then we become free from clinging to 5 skandhas. But he didn't kill the 5 skandhas. He didn't kill the Mara. So even though he became free from this grasping the 5 skandhas, his body and mind, he didn't kill the Mara. So even after he became Buddha, his 5 skandhas are there. Otherwise he couldn't live. So the function of his 5 skandhas are transformed. Before he became free, clinging to 5 skandhas are Mara. But after he became free from this clinging, clinging is upadana in Pali. Then these 5 skandhas start to function as Buddha's body and mind. And he lived with this body and mind rest of his life for 40 years. And when when Dogen Zen said dropping off body and mind, this body and mind is 5 skandhas. And dropping off body and mind means become free from clinging to 5 skandhas. So basically, this is the same as what Buddha taught, our Buddha experienced, I think. So, Shinjin Datsuraku, or dropping off body and mind, and what Uchiyama Roshi taught, I think it's the same thing. And this is also the same as, in the first sentence of the Heart Sutra, when Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, when deeply practicing Prajna Paramita, clearly see the five skandhas are empty and being liberated from all sufferings. These five skandhas are body and mind. So what Buddha said or experienced, and what the Heart Sutra said, and what Dogen said, I think is the same thing. That is, usually we grasp and cling to my five skandhas as me. But when we see five skandhas are empty, so we don't necessarily need to follow my five skandhas, think or decide. I think that is what let go of thought or opening the hand of thought. And that is the same with what Dogen called dropping of body and mind, or the Heart Sutra says seeing the emptiness of five skandhas, and what Buddha said. Is this the answer to your question? Is this the answer to your question?
I have to really consider about it.
Okay. Please.
A question about translation.
Uh-huh.
So the phrase "opening the hand of thought,"
Uh-huh.
I assume was translated from what Uchiyama Roshi said in Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
Is the translation very easy from Japanese to English, or were there questions about how to translate that phrase into English that you think are worth considering, or because it's a mysterious phrase a little bit.
Actually, opening the hand of thought is my translation.
Right. Did you
I translated at Varezendo. I translate this lecture because people who lived with me at Varezendo wanted to know what he taught at his final lecture. And usually the expression Uchiyama Roshi used is atama or omoi. Atama means head, and omoi means thinking. No tebanashi. Tebanashi. So, te means hand, and hanasu means open, let go. Opening the hand of thought is really a literal translation, and American people didn't like this. My friend, American friend, working on translation, like Tom Wright or Arthur Bremerman, didn't like this English, my translation, because they said, this is not English. And I knew. But, more natural English expression is letting go of thought. But I don't think letting go of thought convey what Uchiyama Roshi wanted to say. This is even Japanese, this is very unique expression. And he created this expression. It took him a long time of practice and studying. And this is his final expression. So I didn't think, the common English expression, letting go of thought, convey this importance of this expression when he create this expression. So even though it's a kind of a strange or funny English, I wanted to use this opening the hand of thought. And when I worked on translation of this book with Tom Wright, because he didn't like opening the hand of thought, he tried to eliminate. But I asked him to keep this expression only within this chapter 8. And so I think only in chapter 8 this opening the hand of thought appeared. But finally, when Jisho Wana made work on editing the draft of this book, she picked up opening the hand of thought as the title of this book. So I'm sorry about that. Probably Tom Wright were not happy.
It's interesting because if you say letting go of thought, there's not a lot of ambiguity. But if you say opening the hand of thought, it's ambiguous as to what has a hand.
Yeah.
Right. Is it the hand? The thought has a hand, or is it something else?
Uchiyama Roshi always said, when we think, we grasp this thing with hand of thought, and letting go of thought is we open this hand. Then this will dropping off, fall down.
I like the translation. I was just curious if it's.
Thank you. I'm happy.
I'm sure you needed to hear that from me. I was just curious if it was also unique in Japanese, and it sounds like it is.
Yeah, this is very unique expression. Only Uchiyama said this. Please.
First, thank you for having a temple that allows us to meditate for many hours, for 2 days straight. I came here because of Kenji-san, and he explained to me that it's one of the few places, if not the only place in the US where you can have Zazen for the amount of time that we have here. So first, thank you for that.
Yeah. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. My question is, coming out of Zazen, as you mentioned, 90 to 99% of priests and people hate Zazen because of the pain, right? So I think the pain that we endure or that we encounter in Zazen is actually the key to something else, to opening something, to opening us to something new. So I was wondering if you had a story about how we can approach or how we can perceive a different way of seeing pain, because the 99% of us, we feel pain and then we walk in the different direction. But is there a story in your experience or in the books that you have read that helps us see pain from a different perspective?
For first few years, I started to practice Zazen. To sit in this posture means to have pain. But excuse me, as a Japanese, sitting on the floor is very common thing in our daily lives. So after a few years, I could sit without pain. It took me a few years, but somehow I could sit without pain. One, I think, important point when in the first few years in my practice was not fight against pain and accept pain as a friend. We feel that when we sit and 14 periods a day for 2, 3, or 4, 5 days, we find pain is also coming and going. It's not stay. In the morning, not so much pain, but in the evening, it was really terribly painful. But when I see, pain is also moving around, changing, then I find there's something interesting about pain. And pain means my body is expressing itself. So from pain, I think we can study, usually almost automatically we escape from pain or try to avoid. And of course, in our daily lives, it's important. But at least during Zazen, sitting in the Zendo is a safe place. So you don't need to escape. You can face and try to experience, how same as our thinking, pain also moving around. Then we can be, how can I say, be a friend, interesting friend. Okay. Thank you.
Other questions in this room? How about folks at home? So you're moderating from there. Oh, you good? Anyone from home? All right. Okay.
No question? I'm happy. Okay, thank you very much.